So Bernadette is doing great research on this topic. I think hayfields are potentially one of the biggest concerns for a lot of our grassland species. It's in some cases can be a population sink in which birds go there, they nest, and then they die. Their nests get wrapped up in hay bale. So it can really be a really detrimental thing. So I think learning about bird-friendly haying is a really cool topic, and Bernadette's going to teach us all about it. Thank you.
Yep. Well, thanks so much for having me. Again, Bernadette. I'm a PhD student at George Mason University and then a research fellow at the Smithsonian's Virginia Working Landscapes program. Okay, so over the past 4 years, I've been studying grassland birds on working farms in Virginia. And today I'm going to be talking about obligate grassland birds. So that includes the bobolink, grasshopper sparrow, Savannah sparrow, and eastern meadowlark, all of which have been facing significant population declines and reside primarily on private lands. So in addition, all of these species nest directly on the ground. So they're incredibly vulnerable to disturbance from activities like haying. And because peak haying season often overlaps with peak breeding season, it really presents some conservation challenges. There we go. So today I'm going to be discussing several best management practices related to hay cutting that you all can implement on farms to safeguard both our grassland birds as well as other wildlife. So as I mentioned, grassland birds nest directly on the ground, and hay cutting activities can usually result in 100% mortality of active nests. So again, that's talking about these hayfields acting as a population sink. So one of the most effective measures that you can take to protect grassland birds is just to postpone your hay cutting. Now, our ongoing research in Virginia indicates that approximately 80% of successful nests fledge by July 1st. So by simply delaying hay harvesting by a couple of weeks or until July 1st, that can mean huge wins for our grassland birds, as well as other species that rely on these fields in early spring. So in addition, hayfields that are left uncut or mowed later in the season also offer greater cover from predators, so we often see higher rates of nest success in these fields. Now, another essential practice is to allow your fields to rest for a duration of, say, 50 to 60 days following a hay cutting. Now, a rest period allows for that vegetation to regenerate, providing cover for our nesting grassland birds, and also enough time for them to complete their nesting cycle. So this photo was taken in a hayfield in Virginia that was cut at the end of May, and by mid-June we already had nesting eastern meadowlarks in there. And the producer decided to leave that field undisturbed until August. He then decided to graze it, but because of that rest period, a lot of those meadowlarks had ample time to fledge young from those fields. Next, I would consider the surrounding landscape when determining your farm management plan. Many of our obligate grassland birds, they avoid edge habitats, and they really thrive in large open landscapes. So to support them, you can prioritize protecting fields or areas that are greater than 25 acres and are not fragmented or bordered by forests. And if circumstances require you to mow during the breeding season, we recommend focusing on smaller fields first, or those that border forests, and then working your way to those larger fields. Now, of course, every farm possesses unique characteristics and management goals, which really necessitates tailored approaches. But here's just an example of a farm where I've been conducting my research. So the fields outlined in red that are bordering the forest, those are fields that they harvest in May, and then they rest those fields until about July. They usually have a 50-day rest period. And then the fields that are outlined in green are those that are surrounded by that contiguous habitat of either pastures or crop or other hay fields. And it's really where our grassland obligate birds are really abundant. So those, they delay their hay cutting until after July 1st, and we really see that the birds are thriving in those fields. Next, you can raise your mower height to at least 4 to 8 inches. Raising the mower blade That 4 to 8 inches can help reduce nest destruction, but it also leaves behind residual cover that is suitable nesting habitat for grassland birds. Additionally, that residual vegetation provides, again, better cover and shelter from predators, as well as adverse weather conditions. So this photo was taken from a farm where the producer raised the blade about 4 inches. And just a couple days after hay harvesting, we noticed that grasshopper sparrows were in there and already nest building. We can also change our mowing pattern in a way to support grassland birds. So we recommend mowing from the center of the field out or towards other uncut fields so that birds can fly into those adjacent fields as refuge. So other recommendations include lowering the mower's speed and avoid nighttime mowing. Birds and other wildlife just don't have enough time to react, or they just simply won't flush out of the way at night. And lastly, consider attaching flushing bars to your equipment. A flushing bar is just a device that is commonly attached to the tractor and is positioned in front of the haying implement. And it really is just designed to create disturbance ahead of the tractor, providing additional time for, say, our nesting birds or other wildlife like fawns, turkeys, foxes, to really move out of the way and avoid potential injury or mortality. Okay, so that was pretty quick, but those were just a few recommendation managements. Again, practices tailored specifically for our African grasslet birds. But if you're seeking guidance on how to manage for grassland or shrubland birds, I recommend that you check out our field management guidelines, which is available through the Virginia Working Landscapes website. In this resource, you will also find a risk calendar that illustrates the most vulnerable times for our grassland birds and optimal times to conduct management in those habitats. Okay, I don't know if we have time for questions, but my email is up there. Please reach out. Thank you.
Anybody have any quick questions? We will keep moving along. None? All right, cool. Thank you. I learned a lot. That was awesome. Appreciate it, Bernadette.